My friends, today the U.S. has officially left Afghanistan, and many of those who served there are in despair. For that reason, I have felt compelled to make this video. It is a very unusual video in that I normally do videos about pop culture, the good, the bad, and the ugly as we fight against the cultural vandalism of Western civilization. But as our withdrawal from Afghanistan is now complete, I have noticed that a lot of our brave servicemen and women are feeling defeated. There is a feeling among many of our troops and support personnel who sacrificed so much that their noble sacrifice was in vain. On this day, the United States has officially left Afghanistan. The forces of oppression there have very quickly regained control of the country, and this is a bitter pill to take for our soldiers and their families who have complex feelings of failure, of loss, of futility. Many of our brave men and women in uniform are remembering fallen comrades, all the losses and heartbreaks of war, all the damaged lives, ruined marriages, the unimaginable sacrifices that were made for this mission in Afghanistan. And in light of recent developments, they are asking, in despair, what was the point of it all? Over the past 4 years in working on my channel, I have met and become friends with many veterans of Afghanistan, of the Gulf War, and other conflicts over time. I have listened to their suffering. I have experienced their grief. And so I am breaking with tradition here to take a moment to share my thoughts on why the sacrifice of our men and women in uniform was not in vain. I'm not going to get political in this video. I do not get political on this channel. But aside from that, and more importantly, this issue transcends politics, and I don't give a damn about all that. I just want to speak to the suffering of my friends and to do what I can to point out that their service was not in vain. That despite everything that has happened, despite how it turned out, I want to point out that in my view, they made a difference, and their service was important. At this point, I'd like to address those in our community who served in Afghanistan directly. My friends, speaking directly to you now, I thank you for your sacrifice and your service. I know that many of you this morning, on the day when the United States mission in Afghanistan is ended and control of the country has fallen again to tyrants and oppressors, are suffering feelings of great loss, futility, sadness, even despair. Why did we go there? What did we accomplish? Was it all for nothing? My friends, I'm certainly no authority here. I do not hold myself up as anything but a patriot who has a perspective to offer you, some thoughts that you may find consoling, that I hope you will find consoling. As I see it, how can you possibly say it was all for nothing when your service kept this country safe from terrorism for 2 decades? In this world, nothing lasts forever. All things must pass. Cities rise and fall, countries come and go. This is the nature of life. To feel that you failed or that it was all for nothing simply because the government of Afghanistan crumbled following our withdrawal from the region is simply not justified. You and your fellow soldiers held the line for over 2 decades, and in that time, there were no major attacks on this country. Your sacrifice and the sacrifices of the fallen and their families held back the tide of fanaticism for 20 years. 20 years of security is no small matter. There are those who have never known the bitterness of terrorism in their entire lives. A whole generation raised in stability and domestic peace because of your courage, heroism, and sacrifice. What price can you possibly put on that? What worth? How can you ever feel like a failure in the face of this accomplishment, 20 years with no further domestic attacks? It is true that Afghanistan has lapsed back under control of this vicious and oppressive regime following our withdrawal. But my point is, you cannot say that anything is worthless just because it doesn't endure forever. For my friends, nothing endures forever. You might as well say that life is pointless because it always ends in death. Does that mean life is a failure? That life is futile simply because it eventually ends? Of course not. All things end in this mortal realm, but even so, life is worth living. It is worthwhile to love someone, even though there are no guarantees how long that love will last, be it a month or 90 years, because life and love and joy, though fleeting, have intrinsic worth, and so did your service. Indeed, it is my feeling that whatever force was responsible for creating this universe, whether it be called God or consciousness, was wise to place us all in a bubble of time, for it is the impermanence of existence that makes life so precious. If every day was the same, perfectly beautiful, perfectly sunny, endless and unchanging and peaceful, it would be nice for a few years perhaps, but over time it would lose all value. We would cease to even notice it. The point being, my friends, life is worth living even if it ends, and your sacrifice was worth making even if the Afghanistan government fell, because your dedication and sacrifice shielded this country from attack by radical forces on our home soil for over 20 years. Do not despair, my friends. Citizens of the United States are grateful for your noble service, and even citizens who aren't grateful, who don't give it a thought, who are just living their lives in peace and a blind ignorance of all that you did. Their ability to live their lives in ignorance of the horrors of the world is also due to your sacrifice. Their ignorance of the trials and tribulations you went through is a testament to your success. Little children never appreciate the sacrifices their parents make for them out of love as they blithely play their silly games on their playgrounds. Children don't understand mortgages, understand how important it is that dad goes to work, don't appreciate where their food and shelter come from. In the same way, those who are ignorant of your sacrifice do not invalidate your sacrifice. The fact that they can live their lives without considering all you've gone through is entirely a tribute to your success, your towering achievement. The true failure here would have been if, despite your service and sacrifices, if all of those people had to think about terror and misery due to attacks on our freedom. The fact they could, like children, go through their lives without fear or want is due to you. How could that possibly be seen as a failure? That is unfair, and you are being hard on yourselves. That is silent testimony to your triumph under incredibly difficult circumstances. That is why you succeeded. Afghanistan is known throughout the world as the graveyard of empires. It kicked Russia's ass at the height of their military power, and Russia cut and run a lot sooner than we withdrew. We outlasted them. There can be no doubt on that score. But the simple fact of the matter is this region is simply too chaotic to subdue. There is no way to install a democratic government there because for whatever reason, democracy does not take hold over there. That is not your fault, not the United States' fault. You cannot wrap freedom in a gift package and simply hand it over to a country. Freedom must be earned. Freedom must be fought for and zealously guarded with diligence, for there are always forces trying to strip it away, undermine it, destroy it. Liberty is a precious and fragile thing, and if the forces there would not fight, if the government there did not care enough to step up and preserve the precious gift we gave them, that is not our fault. That is not your fault. You have no shame staining your armor. You did your best. You kept this country safe for decades. You made a huge difference to all of us who live in freedom and peace. So, my friends, I thank you for your service. I bless you for your sacrifice and courage. At least here, at my base at the center of the earth, you are not forgotten. Remember that nothing lasts forever, and thinking we were going to change the Middle East forever was an unrealistic notion from the start. And that is not your fault either. All we could do for them was give them the chance to succeed. But despite their failure, your sacrifice was not in vain. Hold your heads high, my friends. This country is in your debt for 20 years of peace. On this tragic day, hold your head high. You are not to blame. From the center of the earth, this is Dictor Van Doomcock, the future ruler of Earth, bidding you all, my friends, stay proud.